Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today is going to be part 3 of Benny's home project. Today we are finishing up the living room, and I also added a little bit to his bedroom as well. I really love how it has turned out, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. But really quick, I want to give you a recap on what happened in the previous video. So last week I was able to add some curtains to the space. I also picked up some lamps, a little bit of artwork. I got like 2 large art prints from Hobby Lobby on clearance. I also picked up one vase that had some floral stems in it, some rugs, and that was where I kind of started, was basically just doing what I would do for my home to make it feel a little bit more welcoming and like home. Curtains, lamps, and rug. Those 3 things make a big difference. So that's where I started. I got most of that stuff from Amazon, but anything else that I did purchase, if I can link it, I will have that down below. And I'll go ahead and add that video in case you want to watch it from the beginning before you start watching from here moving forward. So at that point, that is basically where I left off. You may have seen me move the rug from the living room to the bedroom, and that was because he ended up liking the cowhide rug a little bit more. So we were just improvising and moving things around, making do with what we had. So this is me coming back over here now. I was actually just moving some furniture around for him so he could watch TV while we were busy in the house. We were talking about a different layout out here, so I was like, you know what, let me help you real quick. I moved his chair and his little table and stuff. And then this is where we went ahead and got busy from day one. As you can see, the cowhide rug is just a tad too small for this space. His couch is very large, and also his coffee table is large. So I decided to go ahead and layer it. But the rug I originally had was not the right color to layer with the cowhide rug. So I found another one on Amazon, and it worked much better. It has the same colors and tones, and I feel like it just complements it without taking away from it. So I went ahead and worked on getting that open and layering that cowhide rug right on top. I did just quickly want to add, the cowhide rug was never intended for the living room. That's why it's a little bit smaller, and that's why I'm having to layer to begin with to make it fit the scale better. It just so happened he liked it, so I was like, oh, okay, we'll make it work. We'll use the other rug in the other room. I'll buy an additional rug for in here, and we'll just make it work. And it was still cheaper buying this rug and layering the cowhide rug on top than it was to just buy a whole new cowhide rug to fit the space, in case you were wondering. So yeah, an 8x10 cowhide rug is like almost $300. It's crazy, because trust me, I was looking. Now, as far as the rug placement goes, I've never done this before, so y'all don't come for me, but I was like looking at like research and inspiration photos, and most of the time the cowhide rug was kind of like angled a little bit and kind of hanging off the rug underneath, but I felt like with the coffee table being as large as it was, it kind of looked a little weird doing that, so I was like, you know what, I'll do my best. It is what it is. So I put it how I felt like it looked best in the moment, and then at that point I started to realize that I didn't love the curtain color with the cowhide rug and the beige couch, and it was just like there were so many different tones happening. I love the beige curtains, but I started to not like them in this space based off of what I started to add, so I decided to try chocolate brown. And sometimes you just have to try things and just see what looks best in your opinion and then go from there. So as you can see, I have 2 different curtains hanging up. One chocolate and one's beige. The beige on camera doesn't look bad, but in person, what you can't see is basically like the undertone. So it had more of like a cool tone, not warm tone like everything else was going in the space. And it looked more gray in person than it did beige. So that's when I decided to go ahead and go with the darker brown curtains in here. Not only did I love them immediately, but I felt like it actually looked more masculine, like a guy lives here, not a woman. Which there's nothing wrong with having the look of both, but I'm just saying, I just felt like it fit what he wanted better. So I'm going to go ahead and add the new curtains up now, but I did want to point out, if you look at the window right here, you can see where it's at, and you can see actually how much larger the window looks once I add the curtains. Although it makes it feel darker, it looks like the window is so much larger than it is, because I tried my best to extend the rod as far as I could. Granted, I would have loved to have a longer rod, and I would have loved to go a little bit taller, but because of the slanted ceilings, you can only go so high in here, and also my curtain rod can only extend so far. And I was working on, you know, a tighter budget with what I had, and that's all I could get at the time. So I made it work, but Ultimately, if you have a house with tall ceilings and smaller windows, I definitely recommend going as high as you can above your window and as wide as you can. If you have to add extra panels, it's totally worth it. I promise it makes a world of a difference in your space. But I just wanted to point out right here, right now, just look at what a difference curtains, pillows, a little bit of decor has made already, right? Like, doesn't it feel already so much more cozy and welcoming than it did previously? So it just shows, if anything, I want this video to prove is that you do not have to have a crap ton of money to make a space look welcoming. All you really need are the basics to get started. But then if you are like, where do I even start with the basics? I don't know what colors to start with. Find a piece of art or even a rug that you have fallen in love with. Maybe the rug has a lot of great colors in it that you really are drawn to, or maybe the art has the colors that you love. Pull from that. So if it's browns, warm tones, start pulling in those warm tones. Just look for something in that piece of art. Like, for instance, I ended up using that Longhorn photo above the couch, which, by the way, I know a lot of you said I hung that too high, and I can definitely see that now. Oops, rookie mistake. But I definitely just started pulling colors from there. The warm tones, I wanted it to flow with that art. I also ended up finding this other Longhorn photo, and I wasn't sure which one I was going to use above the couch. Ultimately, he liked the other one better. But either way, all the colors I started pulling were inspiration from these prints. And then at that point, it's pretty much foolproof. As long as everything matches, you're good to go. I did go ahead and add a bunch of different like little decor that I had. I brought some stuff with me from my house, like some bowls and just extra things I had. And then I also picked up just a couple of things off Amazon. But this vase here, originally I got this from Hobby Lobby and it had the green stems in it, but I don't know what it was. I just was really feeling the warmer tones overall, and I ended up ordering these burgundy stems for fall. And I actually decided to go ahead and use them here. These were actually supposed to be for my house, but I don't know. I just brought them with me and I was like, you know what, let me try it in there. And it was like, oh my gosh, they look stunning on the table. So at that point, I decided to go ahead and do the same thing here on the dining room. I feel like it just really pulled all the colors together from the rug and the art. So I loved it. And then I just used the greenery and other vases that he had and styled those on the shelves. And that helped a lot because it did help fill up those shelves a little bit better. So I did end up having to trim them a little bit. I just used some scissors and cut the plastic. And then if you just bend the stem back and forth, eventually the metal will break and then you'll have like shorter stems. So if you don't have like, wire cutters or anything like that, that's how I'm able to break them down. And I really love how this turned out here in this little white vase. And then, like I said, here's the part where I was using the greenery and some of the other vases that he already had. So nothing goes to waste around here. I'm going to use up everything I can. All right, so moving into his bedroom, the rug from the living room originally is already under the bed. I did have a lot of curtain rods from my mom that she gave me to use up, so I was like, okay, we're going to have to piece this together, and we're going to do something with this window. So I did end up going ahead and using the curtains that I took down in the living room, the beige ones, went ahead and decided to use those in here. Now, I did not have a tape measure, so I am utilizing some masking tape to measure out where to put the rods, and it worked out like a charm. So I just marked it on the trim, and then I put a hole where it needed to go, and I just used that as a guide for the other side. So in case you ever don't have a tape measure, this is also honestly easier than using a tape measure. It just creates a little template to follow wherever you need to put your brackets. This is the first time I've ever hung curtains where I only had one panel for each window. I've never done that. And one thing I didn't expect was when I went to go put the rod up here, it was a little like one side heavy. So I needed to have like the little screws that go on the bracket to hold the rod in place. If you've ever hung curtains, you know what I'm talking about. But these, because my mom gave them to me, they were missing those little screws. So thankfully, in the box of like miscellaneous screws she had, I ended up finding a small screw that worked to help hold that rod in place. And so, you just kind of got to improvise in situations like this. I'm glad I was able to figure it out. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is never going to work. He's going to go to pull the curtain and the whole thing's going to come like flying down. But I figured it out and it actually looks okay. It doesn't look bad. Is it ideal to not have like some type of sheer or something? No, I would have loved to have that, but I didn't have that. So I'm just kind of using what I have in the moment. But I will say this brand of curtains, 10 out of 10. They are blackout. They hang real beautifully. I do think that they have a very high-end look at such an affordable price. So just take my word for it. If you've been looking for new curtains that are blackout, that have like that linen look and they hang really well, I think you will genuinely love these. I've struggled with curtains in the past, just not having enough flow. They're very stiff, especially if they're blackout with that plastic backing. I don't know why some of them are, different than others, but these just feel really nice quality. And at the end of the day, you kind of get what you pay for, but I do think these are a little bit more high-end looking than what the price is. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the other window now, and this is where I kind of ran into a little dilemma, and so I'm going to share it with you in case this ever happened. So obviously the rods that I'm using are not meant for like a corner wall with windows. They actually make curtain rods that are made for that, so that way the actual curtain will meet all the way around. But in this case, I was thinking to myself, do I go above the rod or under the rod, or do I let the rods touch together? And ultimately, I ended up just putting them exactly at the same height, so that way the rods kind of look like they were one, but they're really just two separate rods. And I figured, if he was to add like shears down the line or something, he could just close them all the way, and you probably wouldn't even see the rods. But either way, I just ended up going with what I felt like looked best. And to me, I thought that it looked better when the rods were the exact same height and they were just touching, even though they were two separate rods. So I don't even feel like you can really, you can tell because I'm telling you, but I don't think you would have noticed if I didn't say anything. So let's just pretend that I didn't say anything. Moving on, my daughter is going to help hold the bracket here, or not the bracket, the actual rod, because this one bracket that I had was a little bent, and I had to change the position of the measurement, and I didn't have a tape measure, like I said, so I ended up having to have her hold that one side so I could just make sure that the rod was going to be touching the other rod, and it looked like it was all one piece instead of like a little cockeyed or whatever. So anyway, you can see now that is what I was talking about in the corner. I was a little confused on how to make this look good, but ultimately I think it looks fine. And then I did go ahead and hang this curtain on the left-hand side of the window this time, since the curtain is on the right-hand side. I just felt like this looked better. I tried it a couple different ways, but y'all let me know what you think. So we didn't have a new bedding set. However, he did have a set of brown sheets that he wanted to use, so we worked on changing out his sheets. And since he didn't have a comforter, he liked the flannel comforter because of the thickness of it. So we used that, but then covered it with the flat sheet, so that way everything matched. He didn't like the red, he said. He wanted it to be like beige or brown. He's like, oh, I do got these sheets though, if you want to change those. So I was like, sure, let's do it. And then that was when I decided to use the flat sheet on the top, just so that way we could get rid of that red and black flannel. And he ultimately loved this much more, so it worked out great. We'll always have that sunrise. We'll always have that sunrise. Daybreak, shadows fade. You step back, I step away. Nothing's broken. Alright, the best part is here. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little overview of what the space looked like before we got started, just as a quick reminder, the bedroom and the living room, and let me go ahead and show you what it looks like now. Alright y'all, let me know what you think in the comments below. I love how the living room turned out, and I will include some before and after photos so that way you can see a little bit more of like a still shot and really like kind of take it all in. I think we have done so much in such a short amount of time, and I'm so proud of this space, but due to some unfortunate news, I will not be able to move forward with this project. It is completely out of my control, and there's nothing I can do about it except for just kind of move forward and close this chapter. But like I said, very proud and very thankful for your support all this time. It means the world to me. It really does. This project really sparked so much creativity in me, and it kind of just made me feel that like fire again to start working on things that I love and enjoy. So very excited for lots of more projects to come, so stay tuned. And thank you guys for being here once again. Make sure you hit all the buttons, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see all of you guys very soon in a new video. Bye y'all.